So if that product is decayed, we have to immediately think there are pathogens on there, and those pathogens are what are causing infections and making people very sick.
Hola compañeros de la carne, bienvenidos a su plataforma de MeatsPad versión en español. El día de hoy volvemos un poco a lo virtual, a lo que estuvimos haciendo durante casi un año, donde no había pues conversaciones en persona. El día de hoy estamos con una gran amiga, con Alessandra Bulgarelli de Kerry. Ella actualmente reside en Costa Rica. Y bueno, es un poco diferente, porque aquí estamos en Kansas, donde se vino una tormenta el día de ayer, y qué diferencia, ¿no? Que estar en Costa Rica tú con un clima, pues de lo mejor. Y bueno, bienvenida Alessandra, ¿cómo estás?
Thank you so much, Francisco. It's very nice over here. We've got a blue sky, no clouds, and it's a beautiful 24 degrees.
Sí, 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 qué envidia. Acá estamos a -10 y sigue cayendo nieve. Yo creo pero bueno, eso es lo bonito de utilizar la tecnología y poder tener estas conversaciones, inclusive que estamos un poco más, pues, lejos, ¿no? Pero bueno, yo creo que estaría interesante hablar un poquito de, pues, de lo que haces tú el día a día. Podemos hablar
Sí,
un
claro.
poquito de tu posición con Kerry. Me comentabas que estudiaste en Alemania. Yo creo que tienes un perfil que muy único, que me gustaría que la gente que
Ujú.
nos escucha en Latinoamérica, nuestros hermanos hispanos, que escuchen quién es Alessandra y un poquito de lo que haces. Y de nuevo, bienvenida a MeatsPad.
Thank you, Francisco. Yes, absolutely. I studied food engineering at the University of Costa Rica many years ago. I had the opportunity to work in the poultry industry to get a little bit of experience. And then after that, I went to Germany, to the Heidelberg area. And there I worked on training as a master butcher. I learned about deboning. This is something that I did not have experience with before. And with the entire program, I completed the entire program there to become a master butcher. And then I was hired by a company that has to do with supplying ingredients, quite a big one in the area. And that company was acquired by Kerry in 2015. So I've been working for 6.5 years for Kerry. My entire career, I have been working on investigation and development in the meat industry. Last year, I did a change, and now I'm in business development. And right now, I'm giving support to all of my colleagues in Latin America about all of the technologies that have to do with meat. My special focus is on technologies that have to do with preservation. That's what I'm working on right now. I am all in on this right now so that we can guarantee shelf life for meat because we've seen a crisis developing in Latin America in terms of the labels that are declaring that a product has a certain shelf life and it does not. And so we're seeing bacteria in raw materials and other matters as well. So we are working hard on creating solutions for preservation of meat. So we give support to our clients so that they can know what is the best technology that they can use to help preserve their meat and meet the demands of their consumers.
Fíjate que es lo que te iba a preguntar, hablando de preservación. Te refieres a vida en aquel, ¿cierto? A cómo
Sí,
optimizar la
vida
vida
en
en aquel
aquel.
producto, que es el tiempo de vida útil, como comentaste, ¿no?
Exactamente. Sí.
Yes. And like I was saying, we have so many meat products in the market, fresh ones, pasteurized, unpasteurized, etc. And what's happening is that they are saying that they have a shelf life on the labels that they do not have. And this is a huge problem because the companies need to guarantee that these products are having the shelf life that they are declared to have on their labels in order to protect consumers. So if they don't meet those labeling minimum requirements that they're giving, then we turn out to have quite large problems. And Latin America is such a diverse area with all kinds of different climates and environments. So the industry needs to be able to get their products to places that are far away and guarantee that they will have the shelf life that they are saying on the label that it will have so that consumers can safely consume their product.
Fíjate que ahorita me acordé de algo, pues yo considero es un tema controversial, de igual manera aquí en Estados Unidos, el tema de la fecha de caducidad. Que algunos la gente en el supermercado, pues informa o en la etiqueta el best by date o el use by o el freeze by, que es el congélese antes de, úsese antes de. ¿Qué has visto eso en Latinoamérica? Un poco pues bueno, porque cada término se puede interpretar de diferente manera, ¿no? No sé en Costa Rica o en Centroamérica, hablar un poquito de Latinoamérica, cómo tú enfrentas estos retos, ¿no? Porque tienes que tener la comunicación del consumidor que puede interpretar de manera correcta lo que está comprando, lo que está viendo, y también platicar con el supermercado, con el retail. Pero pues regularmente ellos no ponen la etiqueta, viene la etiqueta ya del procesador, ¿no? Entonces, no sé, platiquemos un poco de esto, sí.
Now, in terms of meat products, it's pretty sensitive, this whole matter that has to do with shelf life, because we're talking about pathogens. And we're talking about ready to eat products. For example, fresh meat, it has to be cooked. So the responsibility is on the consumer to do that. But how about a package of ham, for example, that we think that we can open it, we can put it on bread, we can make a sandwich and eat it right away. There isn't any other heat or cold temperature that we need to put that meat through. So these expiry dates need to be respected totally and completely from their point of origin. So the companies have a responsibility to comply with what the shelf life is for their product. And this product be kept under certain conditions. It has to be consumed in a certain amount of time. And so what are we talking about with shelf life with meat? Well, it's very possible that that meat product, once it gets to the consumer, has already begun to decay. Because there's this responsibility that falls on the processor to have that product meet the shelf life that they say it will have on its label. So what happens is we eat it, nothing happens, and we feel good. And then we know that the processor of that meat has a process that is in place for that meat, or they're declaring that the expiry date is a little bit less than what it actually is, so that they know that their product is safe, even in case it falls out of the cold chain or doesn't quite maintain the temperatures as it would. And it's very complicated to maintain that temperature on those meat products, and sometimes even more in Latin American households. But the first thing that what happens is that we open up the product and it's the smell. That's the first thing. Or maybe there's this milkiness to the meat. Or maybe there was space inside of the package and maybe something started to grow there. Or if we start to smell that it smells putrid or acidic, then we have to know we cannot consume that product. So if that product is decayed, we have to immediately think there are pathogens on there, and those pathogens are what are causing infections and making people very, very sick. It's a very simple topic.
Sí, claro. Una de las cosas que siempre hago énfasis, y me ha tocado ir a varios supermercados donde a veces ves, bueno, yo porque trato de ver esas partes siempre, ¿no? Como imagino que tú parecido, la temperatura, que es súper importante, la cadena de frío.
Sí.
A veces no entiendo por qué no llega por ejemplo, si te hay una vida útil de 7 días o 10 días y lo compras y dices tú, bueno, no llegó. Entonces te pones a ver un poquito un poco de los fundamentos, ¿no? Bueno, la cadena de frío, pones a ver a lo mejor el refrigerador o la góndola donde estaba ese producto, ya sea lácteo, cárnico, pues ni siquiera está a la temperatura adecuada. Y me ha tocado platicar con la gente que está ahí rellenando las góndolas con productos, y veo, pues tienen por 7, 8, 9 grados y ay, y ni siquiera ellos tienen información de decir, mira, ¿por qué? ¿No? Y a lo mejor te vas un poquito y pues ya sea porque no saben o porque se quieren ahorrar energía o digo, hay muchas partes, ¿no? Y luego después que llega a la casa, pues a veces, pues el producto, pues vemos que esa vida útil no llega. Pues algo.
Yes, that's right. And when we do these studies and when we do work with our clients, either they or we suggest that the study be done at a temperature that is a little bit higher. Normally, we do our studies at like 4 or 5 degrees because that's what we think that the industry is going to store the product at that temperature. And when they do, we see shelf lives that are very long. It's a wonderful product. And they don't even need, some of these products don't even need a preservative in order to have a shelf life that is acceptable to the consumer. But when we start to put the temperature up a little bit, maybe from 5 to 8 degrees or to 10 degrees, the product's microbiology completely changes. And these are more real conditions. These are the conditions under which consumers are buying those products normally. So we really do struggle to have those studies done under the temperatures that are more realistic because consumers also want natural preservative methods. And so, besides the temperature, we have other types of manipulation that are happening on these products. So, these are the situations that we're facing in all of Latin America.
Fíjate que, bueno, vamos a hablar un poquito más, un poquito de historia. Cuando estuve por Irlanda, un poquito hablar de la empresa a la que representas, Kerry, tuve la oportunidad de conocer a Marguerite Gleason. Ella en ese momento yo estaba prácticamente de intercambio, estuve un año por allá y en una plática pues para internship, para prácticas profesionales, llegó y ahí lo conocí. Estoy hablando hace casi 10 años de eso. Y bueno, yo creo que es muy curioso, ¿no? Cómo esas relaciones que vas dejando, que vas conociendo y mantener esos contactos, pues digo, no tiene nada que ver a eso, ¿no? Pero una de las cosas que estamos aquí es por eso, porque hace 10 años conocí a Margarit y que pues que estaba en ese entonces, pues estuvo mucho en México y luego, digo, no sé exactamente, creo que ahorita está en Estados Unidos. Y bueno, yo creo que es algo bonito, ¿no? Te iba a preguntar acerca de las tecnologías, digo, no sé cuáles son podemos hablar hay muchas maneras de alargar o optimizar la vida en de productos, podemos hablar de, pues, la actividad del agua, podemos hablar de pHs, podemos hablar eh, pues, de muchísimas cosas, ¿no? Inclusive, digo, hablamos de temperaturas, no sé, a lo mejor en qué aspectos tú estás trabajando con los procesadores. Mencionábamos que estás pues, muy enfocada a procesadores ya sea pequeños, medianos o hasta los más grandes en la industria. ¿Cuáles son algunos de los retos que tú has identificado pues, o cómo Kerry les puede ayudar, ¿no? Es esa parte, podemos hablar de los metabolitos que platicábamos hace rato de fermentación, o algunos de los más comunes, digo, creo que es muy amplio este tema.
Yes, oh, it makes me so excited, Francisco. It really does. What you were just mentioning about pH, about W, about temperatures, we know this. It's commonly known from Lysin as the theory of barriers. And everyone who is in university related to this matter has heard of this. And this also has to do with best manufacturing practices. So if we have a meat product that has a low bacteria load on it, maybe there's a certain pH, it can be pretty complicated in the meat industry. There's not very much that we can do right there. For W, yes, we can do some things to minimize the water activity, and we do have that in use in sausages and cold cuts and so far. But in the meat industry of fresh meat, we don't have that barrier there. So then we might have an aerobic atmosphere that also has an impact on the meat. Many years ago, I gave classes in the National Technical University, and we had one class to see the theory of barriers and how it applied to the meat industry. And so Lysin was saying that preservatives are the last barrier. The preservatives are not going to solve problems that are from way before. So if that meat already has a bacterial load that is very high, the preservatives are not going to eliminate the metabolites or the organisms in that meat yet, which, by the way, meat is a wonderful growth area. So we have to change these ideas. If we say, I have a problem, I'm going to fix it with the preservatives. And it's like, well, no, that's not the way that we should tackle this situation. First, I need to resolve the matter of the quality of the raw product. And then I need to talk about the barriers, like good temperature for pasteurization, internal temperature getting to a certain level, making sure that there are no cold points, that the temperature is the same all around, and that the cooling was not done quickly, that the product was not in a danger zone for many hours. And then after I guarantee that all of that has happened, then I can start to think about the best preservative for that technology. And so after I have my theory of barriers totally under control, Francisco, there's a very important decision. Do I want traditional preservatives with additives that are mandatory in every single country? Or do I want to have a more clean label for my consumer because I am answering the market trends? And there is a wide gamut of possibilities here. We do have traditional preservatives that is approved by the regulations of our countries. And then we also have a variety of natural ingredients that can also serve to have a clean label. So if you see, you need to have ordered thoughts. I need my house to be in order before I make a decision about changing a preservative, for example. And I have to decide, what is the trend? We know that in Latin America, we have a very popular market because in Latin America, the prices are very low. And this is going on in every single one of our countries. So the clean label is focused on certain niches in particular. Nevertheless, there are products that can solve problems that we have, and they're not that expensive, and so it's a good price for consumers. There are many criteria, and we have to whittle them down to find out what is the best solution for a producer, for a product, for a brand, in order to reach their consumers.
No hay mejor cultivo que la carne. Yo creo que tiene todos los nutrientes que necesita pues las bacterias, ya sea las aeróbicas o anaeróbicas. Y yo creo
Todas.
que sí, la verdad que sí, ¿no? Y quisiera ver el tema, hacer énfasis de nuevo a que no hay aditivo mágico. Si no tenemos unas buenas prácticas, sino de la hora de sacrificio, estamos haciendo todo lo que está a nuestro poder para llevar todas las prácticas de inocuidad posibles,
Así es.
pues eso va a terminar o va a resultar en un producto pues, de calidad pobre, ¿no? Que se va a reflejar en la calidad, pues hablando de esto, ¿no? De vida útil, eh, pues oxidación de color, oxidación de lípidos, digo, hay muchas cosas que desde ahí empiezan, ¿no? Yo creo que hay que
Así es.
hay que ser pues conscientes de que no hay ingrediente mágico que te va a eliminar todo eso.
Así es, Francisco.
La otra cosa que quisiera devolver un poquito a tu experiencia en Alemania. Yo creo que ya fue hace tiempo, pero siempre cuando me encuentro con alguien que ha tenido esa experiencia internacional, pues me gusta tocar temas pues multiculturales y bueno, tomándolos con el tema de industria cárnica, ¿no? ¿Cómo fue esa experiencia? Que, bueno, obviamente aprendiste muchísimo, pero bueno, ¿cómo te ha ayudado esto que aprendiste allá en Alemania, esa manera de pensar de esa gente? Y me toca mucho platicar, pues, de hecho, en este año, en mayo, es la IFA, se celebra en Frankfurt, entonces si todo sale bien y el COVID nos permite, por allá estaremos, y pues son líderes en muchas tecnologías.
Sí.
Entonces, pues una de ellas es la industria cárnica y me gustaría aprender de ti cómo fue esa experiencia y poderlo rebotar con esta bonita industria.
Well, yes. Oh, thank you so much for asking me about things that I am very passionate about. I love the German culture. Ever since I was a girl, I liked it. And I studied at a German college in Costa Rica. And I always wanted to be able to live over there and be part of their culture and their language. And so when I did have that possibility to be able to be master butcher over there, I thought, oh, that is so interesting. And this is going to stack up really nicely on top of my academic degree so that I can have this artisanal career. The masters over there, they're the master butcher, the master baker, the master mechanic. That's how they call them over there. And these are trades that come from history, from the Middle Ages, from when people were extremely specialized in a trade, and that label has survived over centuries. So the master butchers are the ones that by law can put butcher shops in different towns, and each one is specialized in the products of their regions, of their flavors, of the raw materials, etc. And Francisco, you'll see the German culture. It is such a wide variety in terms of meats. The variety is enormous in terms of meat products. And it's, relatively in geographical area, a small country. But it has a cultural richness and culinary richness that is enormous. What you eat up in the north, you don't necessarily eat in the south. And so many years ago, even the butchers used to slaughter their own animals, in decades past. When I was there in 2003, I did see some of this going on, the slaughter and deboning that was going on in government-sanctioned slaughterhouses. Of the things that were most impactful for me at that time was working over there in the butcher shop for over a year as an assistant, as an apprentice, honestly, to a master butcher, and to observe how they took everything into account, everything. And they did it in a way that is friendly with the environment, firstly. Secondly, in a way that is honest to consumers, not putting a little cut onto a product that doesn't go there, but taking advantage of the ears of the pig and the skin and the tail and using them in culinary dishes that are appreciated by the townspeople. And I love that part. I love seeing how they did that. Everything had added value, but it was all really ethically done and sort of historical. And then the flavors, oh my goodness, it's impressive. Oh, the cold smoked. I will always remember how everything was pungent and full of smell in the butchery. And I remember the deboning and how they took advantage and used every single tiny part of the animals and how they cooked them in the right way. Not like in Latin America where we cook some meat and it's kind of hard. Over there, no. Each cut was cooked in a way that had to do with its collagen, with its fiber, with its fat. We could go on and on for an entire podcast about this, Francisco. This is super, super interesting.
Sí, 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 sí. Estamos casi por finalizar este podcast, pero no me quiero ir sin preguntarte tu opinión. Estuve recientemente en Atlanta, en el IPP, el Poultry Show, y me sorprendió ver mucha gente latina, mucha gente de Perú, Colombia, Centroamérica, México, y vi varias gente interesada en irse a lo natural. Ajá. Y bueno, quisiera que me dieras tu opinión en el proceso del curado con nitrito de sodio. Ver tú, qué opinas, ¿no? Porque en Estados Unidos pues está el muy común y aparte también en muchas partes de Latinoamérica el nitrite free, o sea, el término que sin contenido de nitrito. Y te pones a ver pues bueno, que hay procesos del nitrato donde podemos hacer esta fermentación, reducir el nitrato a nitrito mediante la fermentación de bacterias. Y bueno, yo creo que hay una desinformación de esto, ¿no? Yo no sé, a lo mejor que me pudieras decir a la gente que piensa o que está pensando, quiero tener una etiqueta que sea natural, pero también necesitas, o sea, porque el nitrito solo se utiliza por algo. O sea, tiene que estar ahí y bueno, yo creo que ese es otro tema que me apasiona mucho y no sé si me pudieras platicar el tema.
Very controversial topic. Francisco. There's a lot that people don't know, a lot that consumers don't know, and I think the meat industry hasn't done a good job of managing this because there are all kinds of incoherent messages flying around. Now, there's a reason why the meat industry is free of Clostridium. It's not the source of food poisoning, and that's because of sodium nitrate. And I will talk again about my experience in Germany here. We think that they're a market that is much more advanced in terms of technology. Guess what? They haven't stopped using sodium nitrate. It hasn't been satanized and demonized like it has been over here, like in the United States and maybe Latin America. So can I do a sausage or cold cut without nitrate? Sure, I can. Let's talk about turkey ham or chicken ham. We want them to be white, 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 white. And what do? We put a little bit of nitrate in there and we turn the color to pink. And then the consumer says, what's going on here? I'm eating turkey ham and it looks pink. Is it raw or is it well cooked? So can we make sausages and cold cuts without nitrate? Sure, we can. But what do you need to do? Make sure that you have protection against Clostridium. And we can talk about that more in the future if you want to. But what is the difference between using a nitrate from a natural source and a synthesized nitrate with curating salt mixed in? The principle is the same. It's the same, Francisco. It doesn't change. It's sodium nitrate. But what changes is the source. And when we change the source, we have to change the statement on the label. So instead of saying sodium nitrate, it says extract of fermented celery. What does a consumer understand better? Nitrate or celery? Celery, they do. So that's a cleaner label. If we don't want to put nitrate in it, fine. We're going to have to protect ourselves against Clostridium and prevent that bacteria and pathogens in another way. If we want to change the consumer's view of how they interpret and how they accept these ingredients on the labels, then we're going toward a clean label. But nitrate is still nitrate.
Y de que eso es un tema bien polémico, como comentas, y el nitrito sigue siendo, porque químicamente es la molécula es la misma.
Es la misma.
Pero pues la interpretación del cliente, del procesador, inclusive el procesador, porque a veces mi cliente me pide etiqueta limpia, clean label, y a veces está esta controversia, y yo creo que es importante que la gente sepa, ya sea que venga la fuente, ¿no? Que venga del apio, de la raíz, ¿no? Sacando la raíz del apio, o que venga de una sal con una concentración mínima de nítrido de sodio, pues sigue siendo el mismo químico, ya es el mismo efecto.
It has the same effect. Francisco, and this effect protects the consumer. This is the most important message here, that the nitrate has a function. It has to be about 60, 70 parts per million in the product in order to avoid Clostridium from growing. And stopping meat from being a source of infection. So the consumer needs to understand the advantages of a product having nitrate and the responsibility of the industry to make sure that there is the quantity of nitrate that that product needs. And so we have this matter of everything that forms when meat is decaying, and that's a very serious matter, and it's quite controversial. But it's about educating the consumer so that they understand what the industry is giving them.
Perfecto. No, pues muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo, Alessandra. Yo creo que este episodio será pues, muy escuchado por nuestra audiencia. Te lo agradezco muchísimo por estar con nosotros. Y bueno, ojalá y en alguna otra conferencia nos podamos ver en persona y platicar más de este tema que nos apasiona, que es la ciencia cárnica. Y bueno, saludos hasta Costa Rica. Nos vemos pronto.
Thank you so much, Francisco. Have a great day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.